Who better to learn on-camera confidence than from a news anchor who's made a career out of communicating effectively on camera for millions of people live every single day. In this video, I'm sharing some actionable tips from an Instagram Live that I did recently with my friend and news anchor, Ashley Rowe. You are gonna love this video. On this channel, I talk a lot about branding, marketing, always practical advice to build your brand. Be sure to subscribe for more videos just like this one. And now let's get to building confidence on camera according to a news anchor.
Communicate the message, don't read the words.
Ooh.
Know exactly what you want to get across to people. Know where you want to start, know how you want to finish, and then know what you vaguely want to talk about in between. You know, that's where jot notes are so great. And that is where one thing that I love about these virtual platforms is that you can have notes on the side. You can have notes on your computer that you can be reading from. And it's fine if you look down. Who knows? Maybe you're looking to see if you tied your shoe properly. Nobody knows and nobody cares.
I would take it so far as to say, avoid scripting what you want to say. Sometimes we think that scripting it word for word is going to help you, but I would argue that in many cases, unless you're reading the news, you scripting it word for word is putting unbelievable pressure on yourself that you don't need.
What they don't teach you, because it's hard to teach, is you just have to speak like yourself. And that's something that I always find is a bit of a fatal flaw of so many of us that graduate from school. You know, you get out of school and you're like, welcome world, I'm ready for TV, or I'm ready for the radio. And then suddenly you're put to the test and you're doing a story and you're like, I'm Ashley Rowe reporting. And that is something that I think like every student needs to just learn to tone down because it lasts a while. You've got to be authoritative and you've got to just take on that role, and you know that. And so, and you do, and as well, you're a community person, right? And so I think all of us get into the business because we want to help the community. And so that's sort of a natural segue, is we're able to learn by doing, learn by getting out there and getting into the community. And what's great about that is that you often get to meet people and interact with people that you often see when you're doing speaking engagements and that sort of thing. So it makes things a lot more comfortable when you're having to MC events and whatnot. You have to be prepared with your message, not the words that you want to use so much. You know, you can easily script out exactly what you want to say, but then you get in front of the crowd or you get onto your virtual platform and suddenly you're worried about what your backdrop is, if you closed your door shut so that your kids or your dogs don't run in the room or whatever. You know, you're suddenly thinking about all these different things, and then boom, the words disappear from your mind. And now you're scrambling for your notes and your confidence is gone and you're sweating from your armpits, and the whole thing just starts to fail as far as confidence goes. And so when we talk about communication, I always say to people, if you know that you want to nail this one thing, you need to make sure what you're getting across about a particular thing, write it down. Write it down. No problem at all. But trust in yourself that you will be reminded of that little message and that you're going to look down. Trust in yourself that you will do that. Because if you're prepared, if you know what you want to communicate, what message you want to get across, you will do it. Sometimes I do have to read word for word if I'm emceeing an event or something like that, and it's a virtual event and I need to make sure that I'm reading exactly what they want me to say and get across. Here's what you do to prevent looking like you're reading. First of all, you need to make sure that you have read through the script and that you're comfortable with it. But what you do is you minimize let's say you're using Word doc, Word, or you're using Pages or whatever, minimize the application, you know, on either side so that it's much more narrow than taking up the full screen of your desktop, so that really there are probably a maximum of about 5 or 6 words per line. That way, it doesn't look like you're reading because it's so much more narrow. It's almost like you're reading a teleprompter. You'll be scrolling, but nobody will see that.
I think a huge part in at least appearing confident in your communication is speaking in a succinct way. You do it, I do it. Maybe it's from practice. Part of it is confidence, but what are your thoughts on this to avoid rambling? You know, and
preparation.
To say it
You've got to say it succinctly, for sure. The times when I find myself rambling, always, and umming and ahhing, are when I haven't prepared. I think it has a lot to do with not just preparation of what the message is, but also your surroundings. Have you prepared what your backdrop is going to be? Have you prepared if you're going to be using microphone or headphones? Have you prepared thinking about lighting? Don't be thinking about that 5 minutes before you are set to do your recording or set to do your meeting or whatever it is, or your presentation. Do all of that in advance so that you don't have to think about it. I try to get into the studio at least 10 minutes before. That's not always possible. Sometimes I go in 3 minutes before air, but I'll tell you what, if I get in there at least 10 minutes before, I am so much more comfortable than if I get in there 3 minutes before. There are days when I will run into the studio because I had to help with some late breaking news, or, we had to work through a bunch of stuff. And now here I am. I'm like bending over, like with the cameras basically running. I'm bending over, like putting my microphone on through my dress. I'm now trying to log on to this iPad. I'm putting on my lipstick, 30 seconds before air, and fixing my hair. And then, okay, hi, good evening. Thanks for joining us. And that is not a recipe for success. Whereas you get there at least 10 minutes before, you set yourself up, you're good, you've got your lipstick done, you've got your hair all good. And now I feel good starting the show. I'm not stressed, I'm not frazzled. We often look at ourselves when we're going live. I would say if you can avoid it, don't look at yourself. Look at the camera lens. Like right now, I'm looking at the camera lens. Now I'm looking at myself. Do you see a difference? Right?
Good reminder.
What this does, not only does it help you make sure that you are communicating with your audience better by looking at them and not at yourself, but it also prevents you from looking at yourself and your mind playing tricks on you, self-analyzing. What does the background look like? What does my hair look like? Oh my gosh, is this what I look like and sound like on camera? It gets rid of all of that because you're not looking at yourself, you're looking at the camera lens. As my fabulous colleague and co-anchor Keith Radford says, technology is great when it works, but we all know that sometimes it doesn't. And so if you can just be real, react naturally, react the way that you would react if you were around family or friends. If you can just not get so in your head about it and just call it out for what it is. Oh, well, that PowerPoint slide isn't in the direction that we wanted it to go. Hey, is somebody able to help me with this? Whoever the tech person is, can you just get me to the right slide? Or hang on, just bear with me for 1 second as I just get back in the right place. Let your heart rate calm down. Take a second, recalibrate, and then get back started. Nobody cares.
This is a good question because I just said So what do you do about the ums and ums? And any tips for verbal tics?
If you can teach yourself how to, instead of saying just take a pause, a silent pause, that actually is a lot cleaner. That's really the only piece of advice I have for it, because honestly, I still say and quite a lot. To just double down on that though, speaking naturally, that is one thing that I really hope that people who are watching will take away from that. If you feel comfortable in what you're presenting, people who are watching will feel comfortable. And what you want to do is make people feel comfortable. You want to welcome them into whatever space it is that you are in that present moment. And if you feel uncomfortable, I tell you this because I have had this personal experience before. If you feel uncomfortable, so too will your audience. I have felt uncomfortable before, and I could feel it reverberating through the virtual forum that I was on. I can feel it through the camera lens when I'm on the air on live television and I'm doing something that I feel uncomfortable with. And I know that it's doing a disservice to whoever it is that I'm broadcasting for. So feel comfortable, and so will your audience.
There you go. Thanks for checking out this little reel of highlights from my conversation with Ashley, which I had over on Instagram Live. Be sure to connect with me over on Instagram. That would be awesome. And make sure for the full recording, if you want to watch the whole thing, I've linked to that below, as well as some other useful links for building your brand. I'd also love to hear from you right about now. Any tips or moments from this conversation that stand out? Any lingering questions? Be sure to put those in the comments below, where I keep an eye personally, and I will respond to those. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up if you found it helpful. I would appreciate a like, and consider subscribing for more of my videos here on YouTube, where I talk about personal branding, always practical advice to look good online. Next, I'm linking you through to some videos that I think you'll find useful as you build your brand. I'm Phil. Thanks for watching. Those videos are coming up next.